Alright everyone, welcome back to the Dragon Ball Z Dokkan Battle video. My name is D-Free here today. We will be taking a look at all of the units that are getting an EZA soon. So hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Hit that subscribe if you're new for more content. So this is, of course, as you guys see, if you're a global player, this is Japanese specific right now. So we have access to, over the course of the next few days, we're going to get at least access to all of these characters getting an Extreme Z Awaken. Of course, alongside that, we do get the vaunted update in stats. We get the SA level 15. But most importantly, of course, we get the updated leader and passive skills. So, anyways, we do have translations courtesy of Goresh over on the Reddit. We're going to go ahead and check those out. And shout out to Reddit for this compilation image here, because I couldn't load that up on the website. So, that being said, let's go ahead and get into it. So, the first thing we're taking a look at is the free-to-play Tech Android number 13. His leader skill is now Tech, STR, and physical types get 3 key and 60% to attack and defense. Apparently, there is no HP split in there. His super attack causes supreme damage to the enemy and greatly lowers their defense. Passive skill, key +4 and attack and defense +80% when key is 8 or more. Attack and defense +30% if there are 3 or more Android category allies on your team. So he gets an additional bonus there. I'd imagine that one probably winds up getting calculated separately just because the semicolon, but we'd have to wind up seeing how that works out ultimately when the card is released. So the previous passive was just key +4 and attack +70% when key meter is 8 or more. So he picks up defense, 10% more attack, and then also the secondary bonus of 30% attack and defense. So he is meant to obviously be used on an Android category team, and they got a very strong addition to that team. And also the cool thing about this guy is, again, he is a free-to-play unit, and they also recently made the grind a lot easier for this character. He always had one of the most tedious grinds in the game, just due to the way the medals are structured and stuff like that from the stages. So, on top of that, we do also have an EZA for the INT Summonable Android 13. So, we're going to go and take a look at that now. The leader skill, Tech-type enemy attack and defense, minus 43%. So, the defense reduction, just in general, versus most content in the game, isn't a big deal. But that type of leader skill is going to be really, really interesting when we get a tech version of the Legendary Goku event. Like, that type of leader skill, double up, it would still take you a good bit of time. But it's going to be very interesting to see how that works out, because I know that people are now using like the Vegeta setup for that Legendary Goku event in some cases and being able to beat it. It takes a while, but they're able to do it. So the super attack for this guy does supreme damage to the enemy and massively lowers the defense. So again, we're looking at the INT 13 here. Massively lowering defense is phenomenal, particularly, again, versus harder content like the Legendary Goku event. So that's going to be very, very good aging mechanic. Still, not too many cards have massive reduction, so very nice to have that. Also, the passive skill, still an Orb Changer, changes Tech Key Spheres to Rainbow Key Spheres. Key +2 in addition for every Rainbow Key Sphere obtained. Okay, so the best thing about this unit always was that he produced rainbow orbs, but now he gets bonus key for his rainbow orbs that he gets. Also, attack and defense +50%, I'm guessing at the start of the turn, and attack and defense +13% for every Android category ally in your team. So do keep in mind that when there's a passive that says, oh, for every ally in your team, you do have to, assuming that you're on a full Android team, it does also consider the friend, you do have to multiply that by the number of units that you're running on the team, which, of course, in the best case scenario, would be ×7. So this is actually a very profound passive additionally on top of the 50% as well, which, again, it could also calculate separately. I'm not sure about those things, but generally when there is a semicolon for the matter, that is something that winds up happening. So this guy got insanely good. Just for the record, he got insanely good. Like, he fits so phenomenally well on the Android team, it's not even funny. He is going to be amazing, especially for that team, because they're going to pick up some more options as we move into more of the Cell Saga stuff, because yes, there is more Cell Saga stuff, so this does pretty much confirm that Gohan will be getting a Dokkan Fest, presumably soon, right? 300 million, whenever it is. But this guy's going to be very good, especially because that team needed more options, and of course they'll get more, but he's going to age very well too in the game. He has self-sufficiency when he really doesn't even need it, for example, but that type of stuff will help out a ton for him. So very impressed with him. So we've got to take a look at Medic Cooler. So this card's biggest issue is that, well, it's the same name as the AGL one, so he's going to have to be really good. Of course, that only applies to people that pulled the AGL, but it is still worth note, right? So the super attack, we'll go back to the leader skill. All types, 3 key, 70%. Solid sub-leader skill. The super attack now does supreme damage and massively lowers enemy defense. So for the passive, its allies, that is the old passive. Attack and defense for himself, +50% at the start of the turn. And all allies get 30% attack, and extreme class allies get 3 key and 40% defense. That's nuts. Also, one thing that they did here is they are doing that thing that they've been doing recently where, like, for example, the free-to-play Great Saiyan 4 has a similar passive where it's like, okay, super class allies get, I believe, what is it, 2 or 3 key and then 30% defense, but then youth category allies get the attack boost, but if you're both, right, you'd get both boosts, right, a super class youth unit, which is like all of them, right? Anyways, so in this case, an extreme class ally is getting 40% defense, 3 key, and 30% attack. Whereas previously it was just 2 key and 30% attack. They added 40% defense onto this. Not to mention he now has his own attack and defense boost at the start of the turn. He also does benefit from his own support passive. So again, we have a very, 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 very impressive awakening here. This is really impressive. I think that he's going to wind up taking a place on those teams where you run Meta Cooler, for example, but you may run Meta Cooler on the team, but not as your leader, which it depends on the situation you're in. Like, if you're trying to run a situation like that, a team like that. But this guy is really good, worth consideration, especially for, like, as an off-rotation unit, because I've always talked about how support units, they need some form of defense. They've been doing that. They've been giving them dodges or just stuff like this to make them very good for about the last year now. So this is amazing. So very impressed with Meta Cooler. Now we got to take a look at Pure Evil Majin Buu, who actually had a flat boost at the start of the turn initially for his passive, if I recall correctly. But that actually that was pre-awakening, I believe is what it is. Correct me if I'm mistaken, it's been a really long time since I've seen this guy and just in general used him. So actually, you know, it's right here, plus 18,000, and it actually got changed. So yeah, they generally don't really give flat boosts anymore, so that's very hopeful for Kaioken Super Saiyan Blue whenever he gets an EZA, right? But we're going to go take a look at the Majin Buu here. So Tech, IT, and STR types get 3 key and 80% to attack and HP. Not a bad split, I'd say, for a sub-leader, but you'd still like to have that defense. Super attack does supreme damage and raises attack for 6 turns. 6 turns is significantly better than 3 turns, as it sounds, of course, but because the stack raises, the stack lasts longer. So since that's the case, you're able to accumulate better. So it's very, very good. The passive now is attack and defense plus 90% at the start of the turn. All enemies lose 20% attack and defense. That's very good. The debuff, it's not always applicable, but again, versus content like Super Battle Road, that is invaluable. Like, that's really, really good to have as a unit on Super Battle Road, for example, because all of them take that attack debuff and the defense debuff. If there is a Majin Buu Saga category enemy present, interesting. So like Vegeta or any other character from the Majin Buu Saga, perform an additional super attack and gain a high chance to evade the enemy's attacks. Okay, so this is a good unit, right? But you do understand that in most cases, he's only getting the 90% attack and defense and the debuff. Also, the debuff isn't always going to be applicable. So this is probably the most restricted unit we've seen so far on this list, to where he has a very high ceiling but a very low floor. And in a lot of cases, you're just going to get the 90% attack and defense, and then, of course, the raise on the super attack. So he's not doing much else other than that, but if you do happen to have him versus a Majin Buu Saga event, you'll perform an additional super attack and a high chance to also evade their attacks too. So he's really good in that scenario. So one of those units you use situationally. So Nova, I'm hoping, is a really good, I can already see it. I was going to say I'm hoping is a really good support unit or something of that nature. Hopefully they added that, but they did. So tech types get 3 key 100%. Very good. Very, very good sub leader. Also, the super attack, that actually is good as a main leader, to be honest, if you really need it. The super attack is supreme damage and raises the attack for 6 turns. The passive skill is key +3 and attack and defense plus 90%. Shadow Dragon Saga category allies get 30% attack and defense. So he is going to link decently well with Shadow Dragons just in general that are not named Omega Shenron, like the SS4s and stuff. Do keep in mind that the LR SS4s lose shocking speed, and I believe that Nova has that link. If he doesn't, it's not really important. But one thing that is important is that Nova actually has the GT link. So since the GT link is prevalent on the entire Shadow Dragon Saga team, it doesn't really matter that he doesn't offer key. You really have a floating unit who has an attacking and defensive support for allies by 30%, right? And then on top of that, is still going to be hitting really, really hard and able to trigger those links for Omega that Omega did not always have access to, whereas, you know, he would have access to them if you ran Sin, but Sin just isn't good anymore. You can pretty much just replace Sin if you really wanted to optimize your Omega now. And then on top of that, you are getting a unit that is self-sufficient in his own right for 3 key. So it works out very, very well in that scenario too. All right, so we're going to move on now to the physical Goku. and then the Vegeta as well. So all types get 3 keys, 70%. The super attack does supreme damage with a great chance to stun the enemy. So I'm guessing that's the 70% one. We don't see that one too often. Most of the time it's just a high chance, but 70% or so chance to stun the enemy, which is really good if you can stun them. If it's applicable, you can do it. It's amazing. Another unit that had a flat boost passive, by the way, 10,000 attack and 5,000 defense when HP is 50% or above. It's just not good. Okay, passive. Key +2. Oh, he has self-sufficiency. Attack and defense plus 80%. So they did shift that to 80% attack and defense. And a high chance to perform a critical hit when HP is 50% or above. The way it's worded sounds like all of those bonuses are applicable when HP is 50% or above. And gauging it based off of the previous passive would make the most sense. But there is a chance that some of that's broken up, right? Also, key +3 and attack and defense plus 100%. Ooh. And a great chance to perform a critical hit when HP is 49% or below. Okay. So this is something. So what they did here, and they did this previously with like the Golden Frieza EZA, where they're basically fixing these units that can become worthless, right? Because if he's below 50% pretty much with just the first part of the passive or even the old passive, he doesn't do anything. He doesn't get anything. But here, when you're lower on HP, he actually gets better, which is really cool thematically with the movie, obviously, which like every movie, but he's all beat up and everything like that. So that being said, he gets one more key, 20% more attack and defense. The chance for crit goes from high to great as well. So he is going to be very good below 50. It's just in some cases, depending on what you have, going to be a little bit difficult. But we'll see what happens with him ultimately. I'm very impressed by that too. It's one of the more straightforward EZAs on this list, but it's very, very good. So we go to take a look at the last one, the Vegeta here. Leader skill is AGL tech and physical types get 3 key and 80%. Super attack causes supreme damage to the enemy and raises attack and defense by 30% for 6. Okay, so attack and defense for 6 turns. He didn't have any stack previously. Wow. To get both is amazing. That I can't even quantify that because again, I've talked about how it's good to get the attack only for 6 turns, but to pick up the defense, that's a whole other realm of viability versus harder content, for example. Because for me personally, I like to have more defense versus harder content. And that just makes him so much better. Let's look at the other part of his passive before I get a little too ahead. So do note that he was another unit that was kind of worthless at points. When your HP was 80% or above, he didn't do anything. But when it was below 80%, he did have 90% attack and defense. So now he just gets 90% attack and defense at the start of the turn. And, oh, yeah, he's a defensive unit. Oh, this is really cool. This guy is awesome. He is going to be so good. So good. He's going to be so tanky, too. Defense plus 15% per attack received of up to a maximum of 60%. So he gets 90% defense at the start of the turn. He raises his defense by 30% for his super attacks. Do keep in mind that, of course, additional supers are beneficial if you can get them to happen. Also, he gets 15% more defense per attack received, up to a maximum of 60%. Wow. He is going to tank very well, and this is something that they do with a lot of Vegetas. They make a lot of them defensive units. I'm not particularly sure why, but a lot of them are all defensive units, and they're all really good at it. So, ultimately, let me know who you're most impressed with. I think, for me personally, I think Fusion 13 INT is probably my most impressed one, just because his change was so profound, right? He does so many different things. And then also Meta Cooler is going to be kind of slept on, I think. Boo, I think Boo's going to be good, but he's going to be probably the most situational unit on this list, to be honest, as far as his passive is concerned, because he's the only unit on this list that really is restricted like that. For example, this is for every Android category ally on your team. Just run him on an Android team, for example. You can control who you run, but it's a lot more selective when you have to be up versus a specific enemy, right? Other than that, I think the rest are all really good. So thank you all for tuning in. I hope you guys enjoyed. Again, huge shout out to the homie Goresh, as Truth would say. But yeah, my friend Goresh, make sure you guys do check him out. Link will be on the description as well, in the description to his Twitter. And I'll catch all of you guys in the next one.